Hello, my name is Fur, and this is New Game Plus Any %. So, starting off here, we're going to be doing a few tricks. The first thing is a charge slash to do a phantom slash to get out of our bed. And then we're gonna go outside, activate the teleporter, and do a door close. All we have to really do to get out of bounds is open the door. It's really that simple. Alright, so starting off here, we're going to be heading in the east. We get to this section first for a variety of reasons, but the main one is to get the shotgun. The shotgun is a really useful weapon in the speedrun because it allows us to do a lot of damage really fast in ways I'll explain later. But now we're going to be doing a zip. Basically, taking advantage of Phantom Slash again, we can get up to some ledges and basically just fly across rooms. Unfortunately, we only have 3 uses for it right now in the speedrun. The next one's right here. And we actually have one more coming up again in the east. The reason all of them are probably in the east, for this speedrun at least, is because just the way the map was designed, it probably helped us find more here than in other places. So now, we're going to introduce a trick called select buffer. Every time you activate a module, which is what I just activated, an animation will play. So to counteract that animation, I brought up the map and basically used it to buffer movements during the animation without ever letting the animation play. And once the animation is over, we can just go back to moving regularly. It's just a small way we can optimize our movement during the run. Alright, this is our last use of the Phantom Slash zipping. We basically just zip a small distance so we can make it out of bounds and get back behind where the boss would be. Normally you wouldn't get this module until after beating the boss, but using that new trick found by Aurorius, we can get back here. Next thing we're doing is we're going to grab the shotgun, and then we're going to select buffer the animation and head back over here where the tower is. There's 4 towers in each section, 1 for each section of the game, and they're one of the things we need to collect along with 4 modules from each section to access the final boss. So we're already almost done with East. We only need to collect 2 more modules. So soon we're going to be entering our first arena, and I think this is going to be the first time we actually get to fight something in the run. So in the speedrun, we take advantage of a technique called plinking, which is basically just shooting and then swinging our sword right after. We can pretty much do this to get double damage if we do pistol plinks like that. Or if we do shotgun plinks, we can do a ton of damage to guys with a lot of health like these. And just like that, he's dead. Alright, so here's our friend Red Door Clip. Basically, we can use him to clip out of bounds. The basic explanation of the trick is whenever the door starts reforming, we can just walk right on up and use it to dash out of bounds. We're going to be doing another one up here. So another thing about them I can explain is that you have to be a certain distance away from the door for it to actually reappear. So there I got my distance and then used them to clip out of bounds. Now we're in the room with the final module of the section. This room can be pretty scary, so you just have to take it carefully. I didn't actually have to grab that health pack, but normally I'm not in this room with as much health as I had. So overall, that was a pretty good East. We're making good time so far. Next, we're going to be heading to the north section of the game. So already coming right up here, we're going to be trying to do a small arena skip. That time we got it, but it's one of those tricks that if you miss, it's no big deal as long as you do not die. Because missing it's only gonna waste you like maybe a second. Coming up here, we're going to go for a cough skip. Unfortunately, I missed it. But by doing 3 precise dashes there, we can skip that cough animation. It's another trick that's pretty much inconsequential to go for in the speedrun. So we always go for it. This next section is just trying to dash and move efficiently. There's not really much else to it. So I'm gonna stay quiet for a second so I can regain my voice. It's the dogs, say hi. This is the pink drifters, say hi. Normally you'll see them in every section of the map, or in like every section, so like north, east, south, and west. But we don't actually ever see him in east, because we just skip past where they'd be. Alright, so now we're going to be doing more select buffering. Kind of slow, but nothing too bad. The best select buffer you can get there is making it completely out of that room during the module animation. So now we're going to be introduced to a new enemy, our bird wizard friend here. Those guys with their lasers do 2 hearts of damage, so you have to be extra careful to not let them kill you. This room can be terrifying for a beginner, because these guys are... There's a ton of them, just look at them. Alright, so now we're going to be doing another out of bounds. Basically using the blocks that are supposed to keep you from getting out of that arena. We can stand on them as they come up and walk out of bounds. Alright, so the next trick we're doing here is called Clippy. Basically, I dashed off the edge while activating that module to lower what the game thinks my height is. So now, as long as I stay in this room, I can walk through certain geometry. And with that trick, I combined select buffering, as we've been doing on other modules, to get all the way up to that pillar and activate it. So now all that's left is 2 more modules, and then we can head back. This section of the game can be scary, because any death you take in these next few rooms is pretty much going to be very costly. I'm going to make sure to heal here before entering this next arena. Even though these bird guys do 2 damage, sometimes that gunner will snipe you, and you just want to be careful to not let that happen. So now we're going to select buffer this little area. Now we're going to be doing another door clip like we've been doing in town, and get out of bounds here. This one you have to take slow sometimes, just because it's dangerous, and if you die you're going to lose a lot of time. This is probably one of the worst rooms to die in the game, so you really want to be careful not to do it. You also need to make sure you do not clip on the right side back in bounds, or else you're going to have to close the game and reopen it. Same thing there, because that arena is very long and it's not worthwhile to do. So coming off of that, that was a pretty good north, so we should be saving some time. Next thing we're going to be doing is going to the west. This west door clip, in my opinion, is pretty notorious, so we might not get it. Alright, luckily we got it, but there are little areas on the side we have to watch out for that can actually get you stuck to a point where you're going to have to go back to the main menu of the game and reload. And that wastes like 15 seconds, which is like the equivalent of a death. So you have to be really careful not to do that. If you clip in back in bounds, you're only going to be wasting like, I don't know, 10-12 seconds. So you just gotta be careful. I've killed many runs doing that before. Alright, so starting off, there's really not much going on in the west, but soon we're going to be introducing a new clip, or a new trick, which is called a transition clip. Basically, a transition clip is when you dash as soon as you enter a room, which is going to be this room, into the transition zone. I missed it that time, but we're going to go for it again. Alright, we got it. And then using the aim function, we can move our position over a little and dash out of bounds. Right there's a small piece of geometry sticking out in the transition zone. So we could use that to clip through that arena. And now we're over here. Alright, this guy's giving me really bad RNG. I can't kill him as long as he's in there. So I have to wait for him to come back. This is actually really bad. That's the worst RNG I've ever had in that room. But that is really rare, so you don't have to worry about it happening in a normal run. Alright, so this is a crystal clip. Basically, by bonking, we can just clip right out of bounds. Alright, so here we're going to be going for a fun little trick called slip and slide. So basically, when we're sliding, you can fire the shotgun to go really far during your slide. Unfortunately, there's not much use for it in the speedrun, but it's a fun trick. There, because of some weird geometry, we can just skip through that arena again. You don't even have to clip out of bounds. Now we're just going to break through that crystal and go down here to do our second crystal clip. This one, in my opinion, is easier than the first. And the out of bounds is also more forgiving. Alright, so there we just bonk, and now we're out of bounds. And we can get the third module. Okay. So there's not really too much left to worry about in West. There is a scary movement section coming up soon, but it's not that hard if I take it slow. I dropped in and put there. Luckily I have plenty of time save here, so that death is not that bad. If you're low on ammo, you can just use that crystal to regain some. And this is the scary movement section. Because, as you saw earlier from my death, those crystals do 2 hearts of damage and kill you instantly. So if you make some wrong movement, drop an input or something like that, you're in for a bad time, I guess is what I can say. You have to be careful going through these rooms. I'm only going to be dashing in sets of 2 or 3 just to be safe. If you bonk in certain parts in this room, you will get comboed to death. So you just gotta watch out for that. Now we're going to be skipping this boss. This is probably the only boss we actually get to see when we skip him. But basically we're just gonna do 2 shotgun blasts on those crystals and do a variation of the crystal clip by falling off the edge. And then we're past him. Optimally you wanna slide while you're activating that kill him. But what I got was fine. A bonk's only gonna lose maybe 2 seconds. And I still have plenty of time to save. But coming up is probably the scariest room in the West, and it's called Dogeland. It's basically a room with a ton of the dog enemy. That was a really good room though. They're all stuck behind the flowers there, so you can just teleport away. Besides that death, that was a very good West. So now we're going to be doing another town door clip. And heading south. South is probably one of the scariest sections of the game for most categories. I'd even argue that in New Game Plus 80%, it's probably one of the scariest sections. But as long as you're careful, you can overcome it. That room you have to be very careful with your dashes, because they're really easy to drop, because it's laggy. You can prepare for it though. Alright, so now we're going for the transition clips in the south. There is one on each side of that transition zone, so we're going to be going back for it after we activate this pillar. A small little optimization you can do is if you miss the one you're going for first, you just go for the other one. It's really convenient and friendly, especially since the transition clips can be kind of a pain sometimes. So now that we got that one, we can head over here. You see, you couldn't really tell, but by grabbing these two modules, the module and the pillar, we effectively just skipped two bosses, because down here to the left, there isn't actually a boss room. And on the other side where the pillar was, the only way you can get to that pillar without glitching is fighting a boss. So already we've skipped two. Alright, so coming down here, we're going to be doing something called Dash Challenge. A lot of people like to do this last in the run, but in New Game Plus we have the option not to. And it's a lot easier to do this when you're not stressed out and on a good run. So it's just better to do it first, because it feels unfair when you lose a run to missing Dash Challenge a ton of times because it's easy, but it doesn't feel as unfair when you lose a run to this room, because this upcoming area is hard. So starting here, when we enter this room, we're going to want to make sure we have out the shotgun. And that's so we can kill these little robot guys down here. We only actually have to kill one of them. Alright, I'm going to heal here just for safety reasons. But I probably could have made it across and over to this room without taking damage. Alright, this part is the hardest part of the room. Luckily we... Alright, we almost didn't get it because of that rocket launcher guy. Good select buffer too. But we saved it, we didn't get hit by the rocket, so we're good. Alright, this room is another scary one. So you just gotta be careful in this out of bounds, and make sure you don't let the rocket guy hit you in the next area. You can do this a bit faster, but to be safe, we're gonna sit down to reset the out of bounds kill timer, and then we're gonna just plink these guys. You can do that a bit faster, but since I missed the rocket shot kill, which is basically just shooting his rocket when it's right in front of him to kill him, I decided to take it safe and just fall back and lose a small bit of time. So you could have probably told before we teleported out that there was a little thing there about to hit us, but because we teleported soon enough, we were actually just good to go. We didn't have to worry about it. So coming down here, it's not going to be too much going on. Just, we're going to try and skip one cough going down this next room. But other than that, it's just don't bonk. And then after all that, we'll be at the final boss of the game. In the speedrun, typically he's really easy, but when you're on a good run, you can choke sometimes. In my previous PB before the most recent route, I was very close to dying on several occasions in his last phase because I messed it up. And once you mess up a phase, you're pretty much put into a situation in New Game Plus where it's really hard to save. So you just gotta be careful, because most of his attacks do 2 damage, and he fires off a ton of attacks that do 1 damage. But that only happens if you mess up the quick kill. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna not mess up the quick kill. But, so what we're going to be doing here is we're basically just going to shotgun fling this guy as much as we can. And it's going to do a ton of damage. Alright, I almost messed it up there because my sound sounds quieter than it normally is. I don't know if that's something hearable on OBS, but hopefully it's not. Alright, and there we beat him. Essentially, that's the end of the run, but there's still a short walk we gotta do to the end of the game. It's kind of nice because it's like a cooldown period after the end of the run. You're like, whew, I did it, PogChamp. But it's kind of annoying at the same time. But I still think it's nice more than it is annoying. You just get to follow the dog, thinking about what it'd be like to pet him. Alright, so time in this game is when we lean up against the wall on this little statue thing up here. And that was Hyperlight Drifter, New Game Plus, any percent. That was actually an incredible run, because I think maybe just yesterday, my sum of best was a like 22-21 or something, but I have improved it by like 20 seconds. But yeah, that was actually a really good run, I'm proud of that. I hope you all enjoyed watching the run. If you are watching it, you probably are since you're listening to me say this. But yeah, I'm gonna sign out there and cut it after this cutscene ends.